Hey everybody, and welcome back to Life with Lolo. It's time for our weekly recap of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is the reunion part 1 because I have to play catch up, so you will get all of my shows, even the ones I missed from last week. You will get them this week. So I'm going to be popping them out today, tomorrow, and Saturday. So be prepared, okay? But this is reunion part 1, and this is season 1, episode 14. All right, before I jump into this recap review, if you are not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you end up liking this recap review, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button along with the share button. All right, y'all. So really quick, because it wasn't too much going on in this reunion, I could actually just kind of blend both of them in, but I want to do it in 2 separate videos just so it can be consistent with my other videos. But they all come in, they're all like masked up, they're getting glammed up and stuff, and they're talking about how they're excited, how they're nervous about their first reunion and stuff like that. The set is really wintry. As far as the outfits, I like Whitney's outfit, or not her outfit, her dress the best because it had pockets. I'm a pocket girl in a dress. You put some pockets in a dress, girl, what? And I like the way it had accentuated her breasts, and it just looked really nice on her. Who else dress looked real nice on them? Mary's hair was good because she had a glam squad, so she wasn't putting on wigs by herself or whatever like that. She actually had some assistance, so she looked nice. Meredith, she looked brighter. She didn't look like all boxy and older. She looked younger actually with her makeup and stuff, so I did like that. Everybody else was pretty okay. It wasn't like nothing that really wowed me, minus Whitney's dress. I really loved her dress. But anyway, Andy starts asking questions or whatever from the viewers, and they talk about how Heather has a fascination on meat on a stick or whatever, and she was just like, you know what, I like balls, like what's the problem or whatever. Then they asked Mary what was up with her hair. She said she admits that her hair was bad. She said that she said it really wasn't a lot of black stylists in Utah, so she really couldn't do much with her own hair, so she just threw on a wig, and the nearest wig that she threw on was what she threw on, child, and that's what we saw. And then they started talking about swingers and they started talking about polygamy. I said polygamy, or the poly lifestyle, I should say. And they were saying it's not as frequent. The polygamy is not as frequent as it was in the past, but it is a big community of swingers in the Mormon community. So I was like, And in Salt Lake City, they were saying too. And Heather was explaining how they want to stay in their marriage. So instead of getting out of their marriage, they make swinging part of the marriage so they can still have their cake and eat it too, basically, or whatever, but still be married. And I'm like, that seems kind of odd, because isn't it still like you're cheating? Isn't that adultery? So that's okay. Like, I just, whatever. And then he was going around the room basically doing like different scenes. So who was sitting next to him? It wasn't Lisa. Oh, Jen. So Jen, did he start with Jen? I want to say he started with Jen, then Lisa, then Mary was on this side. Heather, Whitney, and Meredith was on the other side of him. So he was kind of like going around doing like their scenes and stuff, and then asking them questions based off of that or whatever. And Meredith, somehow it came up that Meredith, because they showed the Jen packet or whatever, and so it came up that Meredith was appalled at what Jen said about Brooks or whatever. And Jen was like, but it was one tracksuit, so I don't understand like why you would be so mad about that. It was like one tracksuit. I wasn't making fun of it or whatever like that. I was just stating facts. It was one tracksuit or whatever like that. And so then Meredith was saying like the comment was mean or whatever, but the things that you said about him on social media, Jen was denying anything she said about him, and they didn't really show anything that she said about Brooks on social media or anything like that. Not that I saw. I know they posted something, but I think it had to do something with her showing her vagina or something like that. Then they talked about how Jen threw all these parties and stuff like that, and they asked the question like, why was she? How can you throw a party for somebody else, but you put yourself into the party or whatever. Meredith said she wasn't really like aggravated or upset about Jen bringing the Hawaiian men or Polynesian men over to do the dance and stuff like that. What she really upset her was that it was Lisa's birthday. But did we know it was Lisa's birthday? I don't know. I can't remember if we knew it was Lisa's birthday. But she said she was more upset because it was Lisa's birthday. And Meredith said she asked Jen not to have the party on that day because it was Lisa's birthday. And she would have preferred to have it on a different day. And child, when they showed them unseen footages, and Lisa kept saying, because it's my birthday, it's my birthday, it's my birthday. And then when they had that big cake for Meredith and then that little cake. They had that little cake for Lisa. I died. I said, oh, why would they have that little, like, so she knew it was her birthday. So it was just like, oh, okay, well, I celebrated it. Because that cake was so little compared to the cake that was Meredith's or whatever. I said, now, Jen is shady as hell for that one. What else? Lisa said that she wasn't upset that they had a party for Meredith. What she was more upset about is how they treated her on her birthday. She was saying like, not Whitney, Heather was real dismissive to her. She was like, you can roll the footage, you could see where you was turning your back towards me and stuff. And Mary had agreed that Heather was kind of defensive and all this other stuff. But when they showed the clip, it looked like Heather, we saw the same footage where Heather went to say hello to Lisa and Lisa practically blew her off. So I was like, whatever. What else? Oh, so Andy wanted to move on, and she like, no, we're not moving on, or whatever. And he was just like, oh. So Heather was like, yeah, it's her show now, Andy, it's her show, and whatever, because she was just trying to take control and stuff. You know how Lisa can be or whatever like that. Whitney was saying that Lisa feels like she's better than everybody or better than her, and she puts her down a lot. And because they started talking about how, because I think Andy asked, was Lisa jealous? Did Whitney think that Lisa was jealous of her? And she was like, no, I don't think that she's jealous of me. I just feel like she thinks she's better than me or whatever. And then they started talking about how she was dancing at the party and Lisa had a problem with that. And Lisa was like, well, I thought it was inappropriate that she should be dancing like that at Sharif's party and stuff like that. But they show unseen footage of Lisa doing damn splits in front of Sharif. So I'm like, girl, the double standard, okay? And so Jim was like, well, I wasn't offended by it or anything like that. Like, I was holding Whitney's legs while she was popping it. So, like, I didn't see anything wrong with that. And then Whitney was saying, like, you called me trash several times, Lisa. And Lisa was like, I have never called you trash. I called you trash one time or whatever. And she was like, no, you did it several times. So I was just like, Lord. Then viewer asked, what's that child named? Mary, why she wore that green loofah and green loofah dress. And she stood behind it. She said she liked it. And it looked good on her. Everybody can't wear it or whatever. I was like, girl, you don't need to wear it. And then you had them little kid leggings on or them little white tights. Child. So then they, because they showed us scene, was it, Lisa's? No, it wasn't Lisa's. I think it was Jen's or something. Or it was Jen's package or something. I don't know whose package it was, but it may have been Jen's. And Heather started tearing up. And Andy was like, why were you crying during that package or whatever? She was like, because I lost my father in April. And then we found out Mary lost her father too or whatever. And so then they started asking Jen about plastic surgery and stuff like that. And she says she hasn't had any plastic surgery. The most she's done is fillers, Botox, and, well, we know she got her boobs done or whatever like that, because she told us that she had her boobs done. And then Whitney, she said she had Botox fillers, and then she done had her boobs done since the show aired, because them things was sitting nice and pretty. She said, oh yeah, I lifted them up. Okay. Jen says, because they was asking, like, what does Jen do? So, because I wanted to know the same thing, and I wasn't trying to be funny or nothing like that, but I was like, what does she do? Because they was asking, like, why does she need all these assistants and stuff like that? And she says that she is in, like, marketing, advertising, like direct response marketing, and she does advertising. So the way she said it, because she was saying, like, they have an algorithm to bring ads to you or something like that. So the way she said it made me think of like when you on Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or any of those things, and you looking through and you may be like, oh, I want some tea or something like that, and then all these tea ads pop up. That's what made me think that, like, on Google you look up one thing and then on Instagram or Facebook that's all the ads you have. That's what I was thinking, like maybe that's what she do, because she was saying like they have the algorithm to show how things get pulled. So I mean, you can make money off marketing. So what else happened? So they wanted to know why Jen's husband couldn't take off work or whatever like that, and if he's not the head coach. And she was saying like the assistant coach, they do all the work and stuff like that. That's why he couldn't take off work or whatever. And Andy was like, well, was it something in the past that happened that made you not be able to communicate with him? And she was just saying like he just wasn't there. So when he is there for like 1 or 2 days, I don't want to talk to him about it, because it's like we need to come together and spend this time together versus talk about this heavy stuff or whatever. And then she don't want to talk to him on the road because he's working and yada yada yada. So it just kind of, they just miss each other or whatever like that. I think it was Andy trying to insinuate like he was, I'm sorry y'all, was Andy trying to insinuate that I'm sorry, y'all. They try and drag the child in the snow, and she is not having it. Anyway, what was I saying? Was Andy trying to insinuate like something was going on there or whatever, like cheating or some type of abuse, like she was scared of him or something? I don't know if I like his line of questioning there. What did y'all think about it? Like, did y'all think he was trying to insinuate something or whatever? Because I picked that up, and she was just like, no, he just wasn't there or whatever like that. What else? She says that she oh, and then somebody asked like, you in your 50s or whatever, you be having tantrums like a little kid or whatever like that. She was like, I am not in my 50s, I am 48. I was like, well, that's 2 years from 50, girl, chill out. But I got her or whatever like that. Like, I'm 41, I don't want nobody saying I'm 50. Like, chill out, I got some years. But anyway, she was saying like, yeah, she was just going through a lot and ish happens or whatever, so she wanted to project herself in that manner or whatever like that. And she says that she's never temperamental or whatever like that. And they was like, girl, because when Mary's name come up, you be getting hype or whatever. And everybody agreed, minus Jen. She like, it's not that it's Mary's name that comes up that I get hyper. They showed the clips or whatever, and then this came up again, and then they showed the clips again. So I'm just like, And then Heather and Whitney both was just like, yeah, you do get real like aggressive, like you hear, and then when Mary's name is mentioned, it triggers you or whatever. And then she says that's not the case, but we saw it, okay. Then a viewer had asked the question like, why haven't you apologized to Heather for putting you in the car that night that you blew up at her and stuff like that? Have you apologized to her? Because remember, that was it at the 20s party where she was going off on Meredith. And was she going off on Lisa? Or was Meredith? No, she was going off on Meredith, and then she started screaming and stuff, and then she stormed out, and then Heather went to chase her down and stuff, and she never apologized for like screaming on Heather, and then Heather helping her in the car or whatever like that. So then she gave like this real dry apology, and Andy was just like, are you serious? And she was like, what? Like, that was sincere, like that was from my heart or whatever. And he was like, okay, because it didn't seem like it or whatever. And Heather was just pretty much over it. She was just like, I know this is what it is, like this is Jen, so yeah, and I'll continue to help her, put her in the car and all this other stuff. And Mary was like, that ain't no way for a friend to treat you. Like, a friend should be reciprocal to what you do and stuff like that. And Jen was like, well, you should take your own advice or something like that. And Mary was like, the problem is I don't want to be your friend. I was cracking up. I was cracking up. And then Mary was giving it to him. She was giving it to him. And then somehow they got on Meredith and Jen, and how Jen was at her house, at Meredith's house. Remember, she was kicking her legs all up in the air and stuff like that. And then it got on a whole vagina gate. I said, not vagina gate. And she was saying, like, Meredith was like, you made my kids real uncomfortable. And I wouldn't have mind if you would have came to me and said, like, I apologize for making your kids uncomfortable, yada, yada, yada. But you never said that. And Jen was like, girl, I didn't even know it was an issue. Like, how I'm apologize for something I don't know it's an issue. Like, you didn't even tell me nothing like that. And so Andy was like, well, did they see her vagina? And Meredith was like, yeah. He was like, that's why they went to Home Depot, because they was uncomfortable. She was like, yes, visibly so, or whatever. And so Jen was like, well, I didn't even know they saw my vagina. Like, I didn't know this was a problem with like that. So why would you invite me to stay over if they was so uncomfortable and stuff like that? And she was like, well, I didn't ask you to stay over. Like, that was prior, but that was canceled and stuff. She was like, no, that night you asked me to stay over. She was like, oh, no, because you passed out on my bed. She was like, girl, I did not pass out on your bed. You passed out on my bed. She was like, okay, look, I'm not finna argue with you or whatever, because we know how Meredith is. She will disengage in a second, okay? And so, Jen, that's when Jen had put something on her Facebook page, or not Facebook, Twitter or Facebook or something, talking about what's the boy named Brooks, and something about the vagina or something. He ain't never seen a vagina or something to that effect or whatever. And that's what Meredith is upset about, the comments that Jen was putting on social media and stuff. And then she said something about him being white privileged and all this other stuff. And so then Meredith was like, and yeah, no, because Jim was like, well, he was, the one time I saw him upset is when he came upstairs and he saw you smoking, and that's when Brooks had got upset. She was like, yeah, he did come upstairs and see me smoking and got upset. She was like, yeah, that's why he was upset. That's what I knew. She was like, no, that's not why he was upset. He was upset because he saw your vagina and you was all inappropriate at the house and stuff. And she was like, and then you recorded me smoking. Jim was like, girl, ain't nobody record you smoking. What are you talking about? She was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So we don't know if she recorded her or not, child, because she ain't posted nowhere or nothing like that. So who knows? Who knows, child? Then Lisa was saying something came up about Lisa and how Lisa be rude and stuff like that to people. And Lisa said she was kind to Mary, and Heather, because Lisa kept putting her hands up or something when she was talking to Mary. And Mary was like, put your hands down. She was like, look, I'm putting my hands up because I'm from New York. That's how I talk. Here go Heather. Well, you've been living here for 20 years now. She was like, well, we can go get my mother. She in the back and stuff like that. This Lisa. She was just like, no, we don't have to get your mama, but chill out or whatever. And so Lisa was saying how she has begged Jen to make up with Mary and not hold this animosity towards Mary and stuff like that. And then somehow they got on Lisa about the kids, because I think that's when they showed her packet too. And so then they were saying like, why wouldn't you pick up your kids call? Because remember when her kids had called her via FaceTime, she declined to call. And they was like, well, what if it was an emergency? Like, you don't know what it was. And she was saying like, my husband knows that I need to be focused when it's that time or whatever. And I have a concierge doctor, a nanny, and my husband takes care of everything or whatever. So then she started crying and stuff, saying like, I guess Heather, she started crying, saying like her kids are the best things that happened to her, the best things that she did, and she's very confident, and her kids are her vulnerability and stuff like that. And so Andy was like, oh wow, because I didn't think that you had like a soft spot or you could be vulnerable, but now I see you could be vulnerable when it comes to your kids. So she was saying like, yeah, my kids are my everything. So people calling me like a bad mom, a mean girl, and all this other stuff. And so Heather was like, ain't nobody call you no bad mom or whatever. And she was like, yeah, but I was getting DMs and all this other stuff. Mary called her a snob, and she said that she was a stick in the mud or something like that, child. Whitney was just like, look, you are not nice. Like, you're not nice or whatever. And so Lisa was like, well, I'm very warm and nurturing and stuff. And just because I come off real hard and I'm confident, I love myself, and you should love yourself and all this other stuff. And they was just like, look here, girl, like, you can feel all of that, but the way you come off is real condescending and mean. Like, you come off real like uppity or whatever. And I agree, she does come off real uppity. Like, she comes off like they are beneath her. Like, that's how she acts or whatever. And that's what I picked up off the screen. I don't know about nobody else, but that's what I picked up. And they were basically telling her, but she was kind of like dismissing them. Like she was just like, well, they giving me criticism and I can take that and stuff, but she really wasn't listening to what they were saying. And what else? So then Lisa was saying Mary makes people feel less than, and she was like, who do I make feel less than or whatever? She was like, Jen. And she was like, and who else? I could say, well, damn, you ain't gonna deny that. So then she was like, well, who else? She was like, the people at your church. She was like, look, don't be talking about people at my church. Ain't nobody talking about your alcohol or whatever. And so Mary was saying like she not confrontational or anything like that, but she will speak the truth. And then Mary had asked Heather, was she mean? And then so Heather was like, no, I don't feel like you mean to me or whatever. Then she asked Whitney, and Whitney was about to say something. And then Lisa cut her off and was like, no, because you so busy kissing Mary's ass or whatever, so you wouldn't say it. And she was like, kissing her? What? And Meredith said something. Well, Meredith was like, well, I feel like I know Lisa for 10 years or whatever, so she can say something to me and I can understand it. But if she says something to them or to her, they don't know her like that, so it's not gonna hit them the same. It's gonna be picked up a different way. And I can understand what she's saying, because I can say stuff to a friend that I've known for a long time because that person knows me. They know I don't mean any maliciousness or any harm or anything like that. But if I say the same thing to somebody else and they don't really know how I joke or anything like that, they don't know my sarcasm or anything, they may take me seriously and then they may build upon that. So I understood where Meredith was coming from. But Lisa, she's not hearing it because she thinks, oh, well, I'm nice, they should pick up what I'm putting down and stuff. But they're not, because they don't know you in that light and they're trying to get to know you, but you put on this air that you don't need to get to know them because they're like beneath you or whatever. So I understand what everybody's saying. Everybody not meant to be friends. Some people was meant to be friends for this period of time and then it just won't carry on, or you was meant to be friends in a different manner, or just associates, like hi, bye, we can be cordial at parties and stuff like that, and that's okay. Like Lisa, it seemed like she want to be friends with everybody, and it's like you don't have to be friends with everybody. Everybody not gonna like each other or whatever. And then Lisa was like, well, y'all tell me how I'm supposed to act, and they was like, no, you tell us how we're thinking, how we're feeling, even if we disagree with it or whatever. So they was going back and forth with that. They brought up the issues with the bartenders, and Andy was like, well, if it was an issue with the bartenders, if they work for you, wouldn't that be okay if she told you? And she was like, the problem was that they didn't work for me. They were a contract, so I went to I did a favor for her or whatever like that. And so Whitney pulls out the receipts or something, because she was saying like, Whitney was saying like, I told her I didn't want to be confrontational, I didn't want no big issue about it, or yada yada yada. And she was like, well, that's not what you said and everything. Whitney was like, well, I got the receipts right here we go, right here. And so Andy was like, this is a bad Xerox, girl. I said, girl, why did you say bring out your phone or whatever? But they were still talking about that. And then Lisa was saying like, well, Heather, you called me a bitch and a mean girl and all this other stuff. And Heather was like, yes, I did call you a bitch and a mean girl, and I think you get off on that. I think that you like that, and I think that makes you smile. And she was like, no, it doesn't. And Whitney told her that she was rude, dismissive, manipulative, and all that other stuff. And Heather, I think somehow it came up to be, do they want to be friends? And Heather was like, look, I don't want to be enemies. And then Lisa was saying like, she's just misunderstood. And that's when Lisa was saying about the DM she got, people calling her a bad mom and a bitch and mean and stuff. And Heather was like, well, I didn't say. She was like, no, people said that from based off of, she was like, oh, for based off of how you was treating me, people picked up that you was this and put it in your DMs. And I'm like, why is Lisa so mad at Heather? Because of how she was portrayed on TV. And then that's how the episode ended. I said, these people is crazy. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about part 1 of the reunion. I know it's a week late and the part 2 already came out. I'm going to be doing a video on that a little bit later. But I had to keep, had to give y'all in concession. I didn't want to skip an episode or anything like that. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about part 1 of the reunion. If y'all ended up liking this recap review, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. All right, y'all. Until next time. Peace.